Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, man. It's Wednesday night. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk some football, but give me 30 seconds. Yes. Yes. Oh, man. Yes. It's Wednesday night. What a great game. What a great NFL Week 5. If you could see here on the bottom of my screen, next week I'm going to switch from Wednesday to Tuesday. To be honest, I was really wanting to talk about Chiefs Raiders, and I was like, man, it's going to suck to wait till Wednesday. Man, it's going to really suck to wait till Wednesday. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it a shot, and if I don't like it, I can switch back. But next week, Tuesday, and hopefully, I think from now on, we'll go Tuesday and Friday. Man, Funk, man, dude. Oh, man. What a great week of football. The Lions are a little – I'm not going to say that they're in trouble. Let me give you let me give you some good news here. Let me give you the good news. All right. You knew going into this year you didn't have a team that was going to compete for the division title. You knew you weren't going to the playoffs. You drafted a guy in Jameson Williams who's hopefully he plays against Dallas. Hopefully after the bye, you add him into an offense that's been doing really good. Now they did get shut out last week, and that's never good. But I mean, you guys are without Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, New England's team with some really good defensive players. So you kind of knew going into the year that you didn't have a great team, but you have some really good pieces in play. And I still firmly believe that you're going to use both first-round picks, and that Rams pick looks like it's getting higher and higher every single year. So there's some good things about the Lions. I really think next year is the year that you're going to be thinking to yourself, hey, man, we're getting to the playoffs, so you're adding pieces, and you have some good pieces in play. It was a rough week, but please do not be discouraged. Amazement, brother, yeah. Do not feel bad. I am down several $100s this week. I only had one game that I liked and ended up chickening out. I liked Tennessee, and I ended up not putting action down. Me and Denver Gator are going to do a video. I've been doing a really bad job getting it released Saturday. I'm going to try really hard to get it released Friday. And that way I can kind of talk about it and promote the video a little more. If you're not already, it should be in my description. Check out Dan Betts NFL. Do subscribe to that channel. Unlike a lot of betting YouTubers or NFL, handicappers, I post everything, and I've been posting a lot of losses. So yeah, I've been actually keeping track of games this week. There was one that stood out. Full disclosure, there was one game that stood out, but I'm kind of backtracking on it now. I'll have the video out. No, and I know you weren't. And most Lions fans, most smart Lions fans that follow this channel weren't thinking playoffs. And that's why that's a good thing. Is that what you're looking for year one, which was last year's foundation, and you're just looking to improve. You're trying to add some playmakers. The big jump will be in year three, and it'll probably be a rookie quarterback. And what I think you're going to do is I think you're going to have to trade. I think you guys are still going to get some wins, and you'll probably trade up in the draft to get your quarterback. And then one staple about John Dorsey is he's been able to find picks in later rounds. I mean, Malcolm Rodriguez, a 6th-round pick, that's a good follow or a good pick. So what you want to do is those other rookies. I think you're going to see a lot of roster turnover between this season and next season. So yeah. Lions getting shut out. Real Steelers. Yeah. I'll be honest. I really liked Pittsburgh, and I also really thought that you could go any over on the Patriots Lions. The only over that hit was New England over 23.5, and that didn't hit, or that hit except for that. Yeah. With how the offense been playing, if it's a healthy, J-Mo won't be back till needed. That it's not needed. What you're doing is you're just adding pieces, and you want to get them added into the offense as quickly as possible. And I say that is because I want to see what he can do with Amon-Ra St. Brown, because now Amon-Ra St. Brown's your number one guy. I think he's the number one wide receiver in this league. So what you want to do is you want to get him established, and then see what he can do with some speed, and then add Hawkinson, add Swift, and seriously, Goff could be considered trade bait. I mean, what if he ends up finishing the year with like 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns? It's not unrealistic to think that. And what you may want to do is after the season's over, you may want to move on from him. You may also be able to draft a guy and have him sit for a full year. He may not have to play year one. I'm sorry, I said week one, but he may not have to play year one, like Kenny Pickett is. So, yeah, I thought almost every under or over. What makes these guys choose these? Yeah, there's some questionable primetime games, and this is one I didn't see at all. I have no idea how they were thinking this was going to be a really good game. I'm actually really looking forward to it, believe it or not, because I think the loser is just in terrible shape. And with Washington, if Washington loses this game, is Ron Rivera on hot seat? And keep in mind, because he's general manager and coach, he has a lot more to lose. So yeah, I think that there's a really strong possibility that if Washington loses, Ron Rivera is going to be on hot seat. He could be gone in the next couple of weeks. Where, since the Bears have a new head coach, I don't think that coaching decision would be something Chicago's going to do. But if they do lose, it puts them in a really bad spot. But I'd be hard pressed to find any Bears fan that's thinking, "Oh yeah, this is our year, 12 wins." So. We are going to talk about that. We are going to talk about this, and what it is Rhule getting fired wasn't a surprise, but he really didn't have much of a chance with no real quarterback, and he might as well clean house. That includes treating CMC. Yeah. I think the biggest thing that they failed on was, remember, they gave up quite a bit for Sam Darnold. They gave up a 2nd and a 5th. Okay, there it is. So they gave up a 2nd and a 5th for Darnold, and it just remember they started off last year 3-0, and Darnold didn't have good numbers, but he had some wins, and it looked like they finally got their guy, and it didn't work out. But with the way they handled the quarterback position was just terrible. Remember, they wanted to get rid of Cam. I don't remember if it was year 2 that they brought in Darnold, and then this offseason, I knew as soon as they brought in Baker Mayfield, it was just game over. And then, of course, Darnold, he's not even healthy, but I thought the smart move would have been to just put, since you traded the 2nd and the 5th for Darnold, and it was a high 2nd round pick, if I remember correctly. Put all your eggs in the Darnold basket, who I think has more potential than Baker Mayfield. And of course, Baker Mayfield's going to be out 2 to 6 weeks. Sports betting 101, at least in the NFL, is that anytime you have a new head coach, you almost always want to put action on that team. However, they play the Rams. That's going to be a tough bet. But yeah, so what's going to happen is that Matt Rhule had some player control, and I think part of the reason they fired him is that there is a lot of really good college football positions open. You have Wisconsin, which was kind of a surprise. Jim Leonard, the defensive coordinator, is taking over, and there's been talks about him being a college football head coach. Remember, a couple of years ago, Matt LaFleur was convinced Leonard would want to jump ship and go from Wisconsin to Green Bay, and he turned it down, which is a real surprise. But now, being that he's the head coach in Wisconsin, if he ends up staying there, ends up being one of the smarter moves in coaching history, because Wisconsin, I think, is a really, really good job. They have some talent, and they have a real good recruiting base too. The only issue is that the Big Ten is that conference is getting really, really good. But take a look at the paychecks some of these coaches have received. I think it was I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. Michigan State, he signed something crazy. It was like $75 million. Jim Harbaugh makes, I think it's something crazy like 10, 11 million a year. Ryan Day, the Ohio State head coach, makes something crazy. So there's some really, really good things about being a Wisconsin head coach. But I actually think that Rhule getting fired, I mean, sometimes they have, conversations about, when you get let go, when you don't, can you finish the year? And I think with this situation, I think part of it had to do with some good positions. I think it was a Denver Gator or somebody, I apologize. Somebody sent me a message saying that he was linked to the Arizona State job. So you have Arizona State, you have Wisconsin. There's another big time position that was open. I'm just drawing a complete blank. So I doubt the Lions will trade up or even have to. I originally said Goff's a Bridget, but still like that. Yeah. Oh, I agree, but I really do think you may want to trade up, because I think that you're going to get, let's just say 10 and 25. And by the way, as of today, both those numbers are really, really low. It looks like it's going to be much higher, especially at the Rams. They're really struggling. You may end up getting pick number 15 from the Rams, but I think that you're going to have to trade up into the top 5 to get the guy that you want. So I still think you trade up. Not Rosen. No, they're going to go with PJ Stroud, and I actually think that he'll look pretty good, to tell you the truth. Do you think we think of Adams getting that misdemeanor charges and a money grab for the guy suing? I mean, Adams did apologize. Okay. Yeah. So what happened is Jackson County Sheriff's Department is there's like a misdemeanor assault charge out there, and it is a cash grab. Now, keep in mind, he's an NFL employee. I don't think that you're allowed to sue an NFL player, but it is a cash grab type of deal. And I don't know if it's him or if it's the Sheriff's Department. Originally, there was talk about him getting suspended. And right after it happened, I was thinking, nah, he's not getting suspended. Now I start thinking about it. I'm like, I mean, what do you do? Do you find somebody who's making $30 million? You give him a $10,000 fine? I mean, it is a cash grab thing. I'm pretty sure there's something within the NFL that's like, you can't do this. I'm not 100% sure about that. It is a cash grab thing. Davante Adams was way out of line, and some idiot on social media is like, well, he walked in front of him, so he deserved it. No, The tunnel, but I'm assuming all NFL stadiums are the same way. I know this because I've been to Arrowhead over 300 times. 6 or 7 people can walk side by side. Davante Adams could easily walked out of the way. The guy was just doing his job. Should he have walked in front of an NFL player? Probably not. But it's not definitely wrong with what the guy did, but I do like the fact that Adams apologized immediately. I mean, I get it. You're mad. You're upset. Way out of line. I don't think charges will end up. I know they've been filed and everything. I don't think anything's going to come of it. I do think that there's a strong possibility he misses a game, though. So, if I'm correct, he was in San Francisco. I'm not really sure where he is now, but I don't see him going. They're going to roll PJ Walker, and then I think next week Sam Darnold comes back. I think I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, a lot of cotton out today. Speaking of coach, there's rumors. I don't think that's at all true. Because he has a senior assistant job. And one thing Pittsburgh's been very good at over the years is that they pay their assistant coaches. And because he's labeled as like an assistant head coach, the title usually not always gives you a little more money. Aaron Glenn is definitely on the hot seat. I don't think they make a move during midseason, but after the season's over, it wouldn't surprise me if Flores gets the call, gets several calls. But I don't think it's going to happen within the next couple of weeks. But I do have some coaching. I did want to talk about some coaching possibilities here. I was going to go over some week 5 observations first, but I can go over some coaching here. I got some coaches that I think are interesting head coaching candidates. Ron Rivera threw Wentz under the bus after an interview the other day. Wentz is thinking is up, but he gets some blame as well. Their D isn't playing. Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard about this, and I think that it's one of those things that's really not that big of a deal, and the media tried to make it a big deal. I actually am aware that Riviera said something to Wentz and then apologized. I don't know what it was. I don't think it's a big deal. I think the relationship is as good as it can be. I think Ron Rivera is on hot seat. And unless Washington does something dramatic, he is. I really think he's going to be gone. I really do. I think this is a team that's just going backwards. And they tried last year, and that's not his fault about Fitzpatrick getting hurt, but the offensive line's not in good shape. And by the way, he is the general manager. So remember, they got rid of Williams. They had no replacement on the left side. Brian Robinson, shot twice, if I remember right. And he's coming back. I think he played a few snaps last week. The defense isn't that good. More than likely, I think right now, I think he'll be gone. But I'm going to go over some head coaching I'm going to go over some guys I think are head coaching candidates, and D'Amico Ryans with the 49ers is one of them. He's a guy who's going to be very, very popular. Very, very popular in NFL circles. He's one of my head coaching candidates before for Carolina, but there's always several jobs that are available after the year, and D'Amico Ryans is going to be a candidate for every single one of them. So if the defense doesn't figure something out, the Lions will have a top 5 pick. If the Rams can't figure out the O-line, the Lions could have 2. And exactly. I was going to say 10 and 25, but here's the deal is that I think the Rams will turn things around. I'd be shocked if they didn't get to like 9 or 10, but that offensive line is just garbage. And with Detroit, they're going to win some games. I thought before I saw Hard Knocks, I thought maybe 7, and then after Hard Knocks, I was thinking 5. If you get the 5 wins, there's a chance that there's a chance you are in the top 5, but more than likely, you're probably going to pick somewhere around 10. I firmly think that you're going to have to trade up. I really, really believe that. But we've got a lot of time. We're only after week 5. People keep saying the Lions won't cut AG before the end of the season, but I bet Anthony Lynn would argue. Granted, they didn't cut him loose. They just took away his control to the end of the year. Yeah, I don't think that they're going to let Aaron Glenn go until after the year, but I think after the season, I really think that depending on how bad the team is, I think Aaron Glenn, and I also think that Dan Campbell is on the hot seat as well. And I know you guys are saying, "Oh no, he's not. He's definitely." I don't think he's untouchable. And this is not a well coached team. It really isn't. You can just tell. And they weren't well coached last year either. So, and if you have to bring in a rookie quarterback, do you really want a guy like Dan Campbell? I mean, he's really not your, offensive guru type. I mean, you might be able to do something else. So it'll be a tough one. What's up, football nerds? Denver Gators in the house, man. Denver Gator. I put the link to our channel. When me and you get together, I think I said this the last couple of weeks, I'm going to try to get the video out Friday. I got kind of a plan in play. I've already been looking at games, and I'm anxious. I'm looking forward to Thursday, man. Next week, by the way, Tuesday. It's next week, Tuesday. You see on the ticker. Would Lions offer Fangio a DC gig? I think Riverboat Ron wants out Washington more than Washington wants him out of such a trash. Well, first of all, Ron doesn't want out because he's both the head coach and general manager. That's a great gig to have player control. And by the way, it's never worked except for New England. So I think if Ron Rivera does get another head coaching job, he's not going to have player control like he does in Washington. So Ron doesn't want out of Washington, but I think when the season's over, and may even happen here in the next couple of weeks, they could be out. Fangio, I think, would be brilliant in Detroit. I think Fangio would be brilliant. But I don't think Detroit makes any moves. I know you could say, well, Anthony Lynn last year, but I think this year, once the season's over, they're going to have some tough choices to make. Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, if the offense continues to improve, may get some head coaching. Oh God, my nose itches. May get some head coaching offers. So that's something to watch out for. Out of all the guys I have listed as possible Saints head coaches, Ben Campbell, the Lions offense coordinator, is not one of them. Campbell has made some boneheaded mistakes. His seat should be, yeah. I actually thought you would disagree with me, but I think that over the next 12 weeks, they have to show some improvement. They really do. And the thing is with Dan Campbell is I would love to see him coach a college team. This is a guy I think that would just be awesome in the college ranks. If I'm Wisconsin, I would definitely be interested in having Dan Campbell as my head coach, or if I'm Arizona State. There's one other big Ben Chant. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. My mistake. Fangio would stand Hutch up and go back to the 3-4. Fangio would be awesome. A+ hire as a defensive coordinator for any team. I think Fangio is a world-class defensive coordinator, and I think in Detroit it would work perfect. Like it would fit like a hand in a glove. So I apologize. I said this several. Don't worry about Denver Gator. I went 3 straight weeks losing, and then I had a chance to win, and I ended up not placing the bet. So, but I'm going to go over some guys that I think are head coaching candidates for the Carolina Panthers. And by the way, these two, I'm regurgitating these two from Good Morning Football. So if you watch Good Morning Football, you saw these two. And I'm going to kind of regurgitate and talk about them just real quick. Then I'm going to go over I'm sorry. I'm struggling today. I'm going to go over 7 candidates that I like. So I'm going to go over these two from Good Morning Football. I'm kind of going to regurgitate and talk about them. Bill O'Brien, former Texans head coach, now with Alabama. The only way this works is him coming to Carolina is he brings in Bryce Young, the quarterback from Alabama. And at first I'm thinking this is not a good move, but I kind of like the fact that you bring in by the way, this only works if you bring in Bryce Young. For those of you who don't remember, Bill O'Brien was beyond furious that he was not able to get Patrick Mahomes. He really wanted Mahomes. They ended up settling for Deshaun Watson. He was not a happy camper. If he does get the Carolina job, they have to have the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick in the draft. They have to have Bryce Young. And this does work because when you're a rookie quarterback, that there's such a big difference between college football and the NFL. It's such a different game. Having a guy with NFL experience and knowing your quarterback, I think really makes a huge difference. Personally, if I'm Bill O'Brien, I would stay in the college ranks. I think that the college game's really, really well suited for him. However, if he does want to get back into the NFL, the Carolina Panthers job is very good if he can bring in his quarterback. This works, but it's a package deal. Good Morning Football brought in Jarrett Mayo, the Patriots linebackers coach, who's not even a defensive coordinator. He's a linebackers coach. There's talk of him. Very, very well-respected coach. He's a guy that is going to get some hype as a NFL head coaching candidate, maybe as a defensive coordinator. It's rare that you go from position coach to head coach. He could do this. Keep in mind, anybody in the Bill Belichick coaching tree has not really had a lot of success, but this is kind of an exception to the rule. Again, a linebacker coach to an NFL head coach. This is one that I've been hearing quite a bit. So, hey, don't feel bad. I had to help out a family member. I had to dip into my funds, so I'm not even doing props right now. Hey, that's nice that you're helping out. But yeah, I've had a rough week. Denver Gator, who was red hot, went 0-2, so he's kind of smarting. That's okay. Everybody has bad weeks. All right, now those are 2 from Good Morning Football. I'm going to give you some of my head coaching candidates, and I haven't had a chance. Normally on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I get to do a lot of show prep. I get to go over a lot of games. I get to listen to the Around the Sticks podcast. There's a lot of work that I do. I wasn't able to do a lot of that stuff. It's been kind of a crazy week, so I apologize. Yeah, I really bad cotton mouth. I promise I wasn't smoking anything. Just really, really hard to talk today. Head coaching candidate number 1, Pete Carmichael. He's the Saints offensive coordinator. He's been with the Saints since 2006. He's been the offensive coordinator since 2009. Dennis Allen got promoted to head coach after being there for 5 years. Dennis Allen 100% deserves a head coaching job. But if I'm sorry, I'm struggling today to talk. Pete Carmichael is a guy that I think would really, really be interested in moving out of Seattle. Seattle doesn't have a first-round pick next year. I think they got to move on from the quarterback position. Jameis Winston isn't healthy. Andy Dalton's not the guy. Even if the Saints do turn things around and get to the playoffs, I think Pete Carmichael might be interested in jumping ship. I think if you're the Carolina Panthers taking away one of the best offensive coordinators in the National Football League. Got him. Is a really good move. I like the idea. I don't know if Pete Carmichael is interested in being a head coach, but if he is, this would kind of be the year to jump ship. And I think Carolina would be very interested in a in-division offensive coordinator. Speaking of in-division offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, Tampa Bay offensive coordinator. I think he's going to want to take a head coaching job. Hey, I get to stay with Brady. I get to have everything intact. But I think next year, does he want to rebuild with somebody who isn't Brady? I don't think so. He's very well respected around NFL circles. Unlike Carmichael, Leftwich has been rumored to be a head coach before. He will be a head coach sometime soon. I think staying within the division makes a lot of sense. And again, the same thing applies. With Carmichael, you're taken away from a division rival. So Leftwich is a good is a good spot, I think. The question really is how appealing is the Carolina job? Keep in mind with Bill O'Brien, if he can bring in his quarterback, that makes a lot of sense. The question with Carmichael and Leftwich is, what do you do at the quarterback position? Because I really don't think that they want to go with Dalton long-term or with Jameis Winston. So you have to have a plan in play. And is there a guy in the draft that you're looking at and saying, hey, this is my guy? If Bob stays in college, I think he goes to Auburn, SEC ties. And that's definitely a possibility. SEC coaches make a lot of money. That's definitely a possibility. But I also think that he may want to leave the SEC. He may not want to compete against Saban, which makes sense. I mean, no offense to anybody who's an Auburn fan, but if you're in the SEC, you're always going to play second fiddle to Alabama, where he could go to somewhere like Wisconsin and just dominate that conference. And by the way, they're paying their head coaches a lot of money in the Big Ten. Arizona State, I don't know how good of a job that's going to be with USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12. I have no idea. There's talks that BYU's finally going to go over, and I'll be honest, I really don't know. But Good Morning Football brought up Bill O'Brien with Bryce Young taking over Carolina. That makes sense, but it has to be a package deal. I'd like to see Leftwich gets a shot. Honestly, if the Lions blow it up. No, Leftwich is a guy that's going to be a very popular head coaching candidate. This is a guy that is going to be an NFL head coach very, very soon, probably next year. That's why I got him linked to Carolina. I'm going to give you 5 names now. Now, out of these 5, only one of them, one was already mentioned, and another one's a big name, kind of a big name. Number 1, Eric Bieniemy, Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. He's been linked to a couple jobs. The rumor mill is that he interviews terribly. There's also an incident that he was in trouble with in Colorado with a female student. He was either kicked off the campus or the stadium for a full year. A lot of people feel like he's a subject, or that his success is more due to Mahomes and Andy Reid. But this is a guy that's pretty well respected. I think that this may be a good year for him to get a head coaching job. Carolina's a good spot. Remember, he was a long-time running back coach. So whether you want to stay with CMC or move on from CMC, I think Eric Bieniemy, being a former running back coach, may have some good input there. He's going to get interviewed, and I think Carolina would actually be a decent spot. The one thing about Bieniemy is that I think that if he gets that job, I don't think that he wants to draft a quarterback. I think he'd want to bring one in. Bringing one in brings up my next candidate, and this is a guy I've talked about but is not a well-known candidate, and that's Mike Kafka. He's New York Giants offensive coordinator. He's only 36. He's only been in the NFL for a few years. He was a Northwestern's quarterback and then went into coaching, but he wasn't the Kansas City quarterback coach. And then the last 2 years, he was the passing game coordinator before he took over as the offensive coordinator in New York. This guy is going to be an NFL head coach. It may not be this year, it may be next year, but the hype around New York Giants is really starting to take off. The one thing I like about Mike Kafka is I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be in New York, and I don't think Tyrod Taylor, the backup quarterback, is going to be there. So if he goes to Carolina, I think he can bring one of those two guys with him, and he'll be a bridge quarterback, and that would really help out. But Mike Kafka being a premier quarterback coach, and even though he's only been an offensive coordinator for 1 year, that's been kind of a trend in the NFL, is to go ahead and just take a guy without a lot of experience who shows a lot of potential to be the guy. This is a guy who's going to be an NFL head coach. You probably haven't heard the name Mike Kafka unless you're a diehard Dan Talks Football member, but this is a guy who's going to be an NFL head coach sooner than later, maybe next year, and I think Carolina would be a fantastic position. Man, Jeremy Chin is available. Whoever takes over is probably not going to get player control, but I could see them blowing up the team. Jeremy Chin's going to be interesting. CMC is going to be interesting. There are some good pieces in. Believe it or not, there's some really good pieces in play. You know what? I forgot to put it on my spreadsheet, but I'm bring up Mike Zimmer, the Minnesota Vikings head coach. Can't believe I had a brain fart and forget to bring up Mike Zimmer. He's actually coaching defensive backs at Jackson State with Deion Sanders. He was a Deion Sanders position coach when Deion was here in Dallas. This is a guy I think will come back to the NFL in some capacity. I don't know if Carolina is really the job. But here's the thing. When you go after a college coach, you usually do just the opposite. You want to go after an NFL guy. I just have just my gut instinct is that Zimmer in Carolina doesn't really work together. But Mike Zimmer's a guy that, with former head coaching experience, should be a candidate. I don't think he really fits well with Carolina. Just a gut instinct. I can't really promise that he's somebody that would get some hype, but he's somebody that NFL teams are going to interview and be interested in. I don't think he's really a great candidate for Carolina, just gut instinct, but he is somebody I forgot to put in my notes. So we talked about this just recently. I forget who brought him up, but D'Amico Ryans, the San Francisco defensive coordinator, he's done an A++ job. I really thought that when Robert Saleh left, the defense would go backwards. It's actually improved, and he's done an A+ job. I remember when he played linebacker for the Houston Texans. I actually really liked D'Amico Ryans. This is a future NFL head coach. There's also a possibility that maybe he has some ties with Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe brings Jimmy G with him as the bridge quarterback. I don't know. I'm probably reaching there, but D'Amico Ryans. Now I'm going to give you two other names that you probably haven't heard of. All right. I'm going to give you two names you probably haven't heard of. These are really dark horse candidates. These are just kind of my gut instincts. These are guys that I think that you probably haven't heard of, but are guys I think they're going to be future NFL head coaches sooner than later. I didn't hear this from any other place. I don't know any inside information. It's just gut instinct. All right. So I'm just kind of going over some possible candidates here, two dark horses. Number one, Adam Sandovich. He's Green Bay's offensive coordinator. He's a brand new offensive coordinator, but if you notice that they're doing more running, they're getting a little more creative. Green Bay, I expect that kind of improve. Yeah, I know they lost last week, and there's some people are making fun of the two running back sets. And excuse me, this is a guy that he worked under Shanahan, and now he's worked under LaFleur. I think he's going to get a lot of pub over the next several weeks. Adam Sandovich, Green Bay's offensive coordinator, I think he's going to get some interest. I also think that he's a guy that NFL teams are really going to like. Don't be surprised he ends up getting interviewed and ends up being a head coach sooner than later. Another guy, and this is a real dark horse, but Shane Bowen, Tennessee's defensive coordinator, is a guy I think is going to get a lot of publicity over the next couple of years. He's been with the Texans organization when they had Vrabel, so he worked with Vrabel. Vrabel took him and then promoted him defensive coordinator once Dean Pease left. At first, Vrabel tried to take over defensive coordinator duties, couldn't do it, promoted Bowen. The last couple of years, Tennessee's defense has been amazing despite injuries. And this year they're doing a good job, but this is a guy I think that's really going to, like, right now the trend is to go after offensive-minded coaches. That's why I think Sandovich gets some pub, but this is a guy on the defensive side of the ball that may really surprise people. So those are kind of my candidates. I said 7, there was actually 8 because I forgot to put down Mike Zimmer. But those are guys I think that could take over. These are all guys that are going to be candidates for other jobs. There are going to be, there's a handful of positions that are going to be open. If you had to say, I think the timing was more so he could get himself out there. And I say him, I say Matt Rhule, because believe it or not, like when a coach gets fired, they usually talk about hey, when were you going to let you go? And I think that decision was to let him go sooner than later so he can get one of these college jobs. But I think that I'd be shocked if there was another one. But I think Zimmer, or I'm sorry, not Zimmer. I got defensive coordinators on the mind, but oh God, we were just talking about Riviera. Sorry, especially if they lose to the Bears. So, all right. 5 observations I made after week 5. This is just something I put together. Number 1 observation, the Chiefs are still the best in the West. There was all sorts of talk after or up to the season, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. It's still Kansas City. Even if they lose to Buffalo and the Chargers win and they're both tied at 4-2, the division's Kansas City's. I only put $50 down on Kansas City to win the AFC West. I should have put more. God, excuse me. There is a good possibility that next year's a different story, but for this year, Kansas City's still the best in the West. By the way, don't forget, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Share the channel. Try to get to grow. I'm only 5 away from 800. 5 away from 800. Man, the Raiders just find ways to lose. I said this at the beginning of the season. I'm going to stand by it. The Raiders are the second best team in the AFC West. Look, you got a new coach, some issues with the offensive line. You have a really good quarterback, very underrated quarterback in Carr. I'm gonna say something crazy because you had Chris Jones and Grady Jarrett get those roughing the passer calls. If that roughing the passer call doesn't happen, the Raiders may win that game, because after that happened, Arrowhead just exploded. Multiple calls. The Raiders ended up with 12 penalties. There's a lot of Raiders fans that were really, really mad about the officiating, and the Chiefs fans, respond back with Chris Jones, which obviously was a bad call. But sometimes referees do this. They make one call that's a bad call for one team, and then they come back and make up for it by having some calls against the other team. And that's what happened. Several calls went against the Raiders. including defensive holding on or it was called defensive holding, but it was on a field goal. That hasn't been called since I think they said it was like 6 years. And it happens a little more often than you think. I mean, if that play happened against the Chiefs, I would have been furious since it happened for the Chiefs. Yeah, but yeah, man, the Raiders are going to turn it around. I think this is like eight or nine. I think it's an 8-9 win team. I think they're still second best team in the AFC West. I really do. So, Jimmy, what's up, brother? What's up, brother? Yeah, man. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed yet, check out Dan Betts NFL. Denver Gator was still is red hot. He went 0-2 last week. I didn't have any bets. But check out the channel if you're not already subscribed. I'm going to try my best to get the video out before Friday's show. So this isn't about any specific games, but like all the games, the officials are asses here. You know, Funk, though, the one thing I'm going to say is that there has been some bad calls, but one thing the NFL did this season was they really wanted to emphasize taunting. Is taunting, and what it was is that it was defensive backs standing over receivers. That was kind of a trend that the NFL really wanted to stop. The reason why is that they just looked at it as something that was going to instigate fights. So they've been kind of cautious about that, and I think it's kind of blown up. But yeah. I think compared to most leagues, I think the NFL does a fantastic job, and for the most part, the officiating is very, very good. But here's the thing about an NFL game. Let's just say 80 plays. All right, you mess up on 2 of them. Those 2 are the ones that are gone over again and again and again. But the 78 plays that were called correctly get overlooked. And being an official in an NFL game is really hard. I mean, these guys move insanely fast. I mean, I don't know this for a fact because I've never been on an NFL field, but every single person that's watched the game on the field that I've talked to said that you don't understand the speed. Like it's just so different. The speed of an NFL game. Dexter McCluster used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. He said the difference between college and pros is in college, you see the number. In the pros, it's a blur. Like you don't even know who hit you. You just, it's that fast. It's a lot harder than you think. And the NFL does a good job about grading these guys. But yeah, the calls that are missed are the ones that are blown up. So Georgia Tech, that was the other job I was thinking about. Okay, so anyway, Rhule should go to ASU or Georgia Tech. Not sure he's ready for Big Ten or SEC. Baylor and Temple are right level, maybe a bump up. Well, if you don't remember, he took over Baylor after the death penalty, and 4 years later led them to the Sugar Bowl. So he's ready for big time. He's ready for SEC and Big Ten. And his defensive coordinator, who was with him at Temple and Baylor and Carolina, is also probably going to come with him. So he's ready for big time SEC play. That's my opinion. But yeah, he's a guy. I think that the time I personally thought he would take over at Wisconsin. Like I thought the timing for Wisconsin was perfect, unless Wisconsin just wants to roll with Leonard, and we're going to find out because like he's the interim head coach, defensive coordinator. He turned down Green Bay's defensive coordinator job so he could stay at Wisconsin. Been rumored to be a head coach candidate at several programs. This may be the perfect spot for him. So, but if Wisconsin does go with somebody, I think Rhule would be candidate number one. For him to go to Arizona State would be interesting because I'm not sure how good of a job Arizona State is with USC and UCLA leaving for the Big Ten, which is going to have 16 teams next year. So, but I have to disagree. I think he's ready for SEC right away. I think he's ready for SEC. But I thought the Wisconsin job would be the job. So field goal, defensive holding, funniest shit ever. Last time it was called by it was like 6 years ago. It hasn't been called. It is a penalty. Okay, let's be very clear. Like it's 100% a penalty. The players should be aware of it. But yeah. Right after the Chiefs roughing the passer call, several calls went against the Raiders. A lot of Raiders fans are mad. My overstreak is over. Didn't expect to win against the Patriots. Yeah, I was kind of surprised, man. I was kind of surprised. But I also think that the Patriots defense is pretty good. I still think the Patriots are a pretty good team. I know the record says otherwise, but this is a team that I would not rule out. And I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to get some comments. I'm going to talk about my other 4 points. When did sacking the quarterback? I think that's part of it. Another part is that this offseason, there was a big emphasis on taunting and roughing quarterback. The NFL's, they don't want quarterbacks getting hurt. Just to kind of defend to Chris Jones and Grady Jarrett is that the game is played at such an incredible speed. It probably in real time on the field looked a lot worse. It used to be, go back and watch football in the 60s and 70s. You could kill quarterbacks and it was just considered good football. So, yeah. Chiefs, Chiefs fans are still, I'm still mad about that, but I don't know, man. I watched a few games where there have been more than 2 terrible calls in every game. Newer emphasis on pass interference getting old quick. I get what you're saying, Funk, but for the most part, the NFL referees do a pretty good job. I mean, even with 2 bad calls in a game, it's still 95%. But this is something that one thing the NFL has done a good job on is adapting when it comes to calls. And I think even though it's been really bad now, I think it'll get better as the year goes on. I mean, you have to understand, like when a call costs a game, it's really hard. It's really hard, and I get it. I really do. But the NFL's been they've done a good job in adapting. So. Oh, my buddy Tim's in the house. I had a buddy who was all-state in high school football, went to Colorado to play football. Less than a year later, he was back. Said there's a huge difference between all-state. Dude, and you know what the thing is that it's a completely different jump from high school to college to NFL. It's completely different. You said you had a buddy, so All-State in Missouri is completely different than All-State in Texas or All-State in California or All-State in Georgia. That's another thing is that, like, if you're All-State in Missouri, it's completely, or All-State in Kansas, it's usually a lot different than being like All-State in Texas. You know, if you're All-State in Texas, you're ready for college. Where, like, if you're All-State in a Midwest school like Iowa, or now wrestling, if you're All-State in wrestling in Iowa, you can play. You're ready for college. So that's part of it. But yeah, there's a huge difference. Denver back in week 1, Goddard caught the ball, and Anzalone stood up and looked down towards Anzalone. No flag, and Philly scored the next play. Yeah, and also, I mean, one thing that wasn't called was that Crosby headbutted Mahomes, and normally that's a call. There wasn't a call. There's you could always point it out, but you have to understand too is that in an NFL game, and I'm making up the number, there's 80 plays, and 75 to 79 of those plays are going to be refereed correctly, and it's not an easy job. It's really not an easy job. I would never want to be a referee. But I think for the most part, they do an excellent job. So, yeah. One thing I will say is that a lot of times when a call really goes against one team, they usually make up for it the other way. Remember, they're human beings. I mean, things happen. All right. So the other 4 points that I have here, number 2 is New York's exciting again. I don't remember the last time through 5 weeks that both the Jets and the Giants had a winning record. Jets are 3-2, Giants are 4-1. Side note, they're both frauds. Okay. I don't believe in either one of these teams. I know the Giants beat Green Bay. London's always something weird. All right. London's always something weird. So I don't have it into that. And by the way, I don't see the Jets going to Green Bay and winning. So I think this will be the last time during the season that both the Jets and the Giants will have winning records. I don't know who the Jets play the following week, but I don't think that they're going to win. So just, spoiler alert, they're going to lose in Lambeau next week. And then Baltimore travels to New York to play the Giants. I think Baltimore wins. So personally, I think the NFL's better when both the Jets and the Giants have good teams. And it's been a long time for the Jets, but the Giants the last couple of years have been 4-12, if I remember correctly. When they're better, I think the NFL's a little better. I like the way that they're built, big physical offensive line, powerful running game. As Saquon Barkley stays healthy, they're going to be a good team. I don't think he's going to stay healthy. He's never been. It's never been. He's never been able to stay healthy. When he is healthy, he's the most athletically gifted running back in the National Football League. I just don't think that it's going to happen. So as much as I love New York teams doing well, I think it's a mirage, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing for football. Point number 3, the Eagles are the best team in the NFL right now. And just spoiler alert, I have them beating Dallas on Sunday Night Football. So you get that. I love the way the Eagles are built. Really good defense, phenomenal running game. And I'm going to skip my points because I should have these together. Is that as of today, Jalen Hurts is my MVP. Completing 67.9% of his passes. He's thrown for 1,359 yards, which isn't a lot, but he also has 266 yards rushing, 6 rushing touchdowns, 4 passing touchdowns. But really, forget the numbers. Just watch him play. So as of right now, Jalen Hurts is my MVP. Really, really, really playing lights out. It's only week 5. These are observations after 5 weeks, so don't go to the bank, with this. But as of right now, Jalen Hurts MVP. And my last point is the AFC South train wreck. I mean, all these teams have problems. Basically, it's going to come down to health. The team that's healthiest is going to win this division, and the Houston Texans aren't even out of it. I really think that it's really the Colts and the Titans, and who stays healthier, Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor didn't play last week against Denver in Denver, and they still won. If he stays healthy, the Colts can win that division. And the problem is with Derrick Henry is that when you're that big, you take so much punishment. And I do like the fact they're using him more in the passing game, which I think is a very smart move. If he's healthy, Tennessee can win that division. Whichever one of these two players is healthier will probably result in the division being won. The Houston Texans aren't out of it, and neither is Jacksonville, but I don't think either one of these teams are really a threat. But whoever stays healthiest in that garbage AFC South will win that division, probably 8-9 wins. So those are 5 observations that I have. Could they bring in reviews for questionable calls, challenge from the skybox, no loss of time, outs, 2 half for each team? Okay. Remember, they tried this a couple years ago with pass interference. Is that you could challenge pass interference, and here's the problem: it didn't work. You have one person's opinion versus another person's opinion. It did slow up the game. It drove me nuts how they would talk for 2 or 3 minutes and nothing happened. You always want to see something like this happen, but bottom line, it would increase the time of the game, and that's something the NFL's worked really hard to try to have the game shortened. They want to keep a game to about 3 hours. So they don't want it to be like college football where a game lasts 3.5, 4 hours. As far as being they did that. Remember, they did pass interference and nobody liked it. Fans didn't like it. Players didn't like it. It didn't work. It didn't change anything. So that's kind of my thought process. It would be a good thing, especially with pass interference, but it didn't work. It didn't work. I think that what the NFL is doing right now, despite some plays that are still bad plays, I think what the NFL is doing is the best thing that they can do. So, do you like the international games? I think there is one in Germany this year too. What do you think about games over there? I think it's cool that you have games over there. I really do. But when a team loses overseas, I kind of just look at it. It's like it's no big deal. The NFL is trying to go international, and I don't have a problem with that because I mean that's what happened with basketball, and I think it made basketball better. Bringing in excitement to foreign countries, I have no problem with it. The only issue I have is that when a team Green Bay lost in London, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And the travel time there and back, I think it takes a toll on you. I really do. It's kind of hard, especially if you do have an international game and you don't have a bye the next week. Like if Green Bay, I don't know off the top of my head who Green Bay plays, or the Giants. I don't know off the top of my head, but if they lose next week, I do have the Giants losing to Baltimore. Just by the way. There is, and by the way, did you hear about the Giants punter? There's a problem with his passport. Last I heard, he's still in London because there was an issue with his passport. I do like that there's international games. It's just that when you lose over there, I don't look at it as, like, hey, it's a London game or it's a Germany game. There's one in Mexico this year too. So yeah. I do too. I've always had a soft spot for the Jets. Funk says, well, at least the most underrated running back in history was there, Curtis Martin. Yeah, I loved Curtis Martin. And I think the NFL is better when the Jets and Giants are good teams. And it's been a long time for the Jets, but and I think this is such a great thing for the NFL right now. I really do. But I don't believe in either one of these teams. I really don't. I don't think either one of these teams make the playoffs, but I think it's awesome right now the way these two teams are doing. I think it's awesome. I thought Robert Saleh would get fired. Actually, I thought he was on the hot seat with them being 3-2. Now, keep in mind if they finish, 4-13, 5-12, what have you. Yeah, he's on the hot seat, but as of right now, he's doing an A+ job. And they have a lot of young players playing well. Breece Hall, a guy that had a major draft crush on, looks awesome. If Lamar hits any one of those touchdowns this week, I'd argue Lamar over Jalen, but he as is, it goes to Hurts. Yeah, today, right now, it goes to Hurts, and this is only after week 5. So many things can change. But as of right now, Hurts is the MVP, and this is a thing. Like if you're hurt, I don't know who his agent is, but his agent is got to be like, hey, see all this money that was going around. See what Kyler Murray got. See what Mahomes got. See what Josh Allen has, and Hurts is just as good. That's what you're thinking of if you're the agent. The Hurts contract is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one because if you're the Eagles, I almost think you have to pay him. And I'm not exaggerating. 6 years, $400 million, like that could be the number. Divine Comedy, man. We need some Seahawks fans. So welcome. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Like the video and don't forget to share. I'm 5 away from 800 subscribers, but as a Seahawks fan, this season is actually perfect. We have an incredible draft class. The defensive rookie of the year found bookend tackles for a decade are still playing hard and still losing, preserving draft status. Ha ha ha. I don't know if you had the defensive rookie of the year, but Tarek Wooden is a guy that I was very, very high on. If you don't know who he is, he played football at University of Texas, San Antonio, and he's playing lights out, by the way. And here's a guy that he was drafted in the 5th round. I don't know how he lasted to the 5th round. Here's a guy, he was like 6'4", 6'3", 210, ran a 4.31. Because he played in a non-Power 5 school, you didn't know a lot about him, but he looks like an NFL corner playing lights out. I don't know if he's defensive rookie of the year. I don't know that, but he's playing lights out right now. And you're right. You have a rookie left tackle. You have a rookie right tackle. And Kenneth Walker had I think it was like a 65-yard touchdown run with Rashad Penny being out for the season. That was a big loss. We're going to see what Derek Walker can do. So you had an incredible draft class. You really did. You really did. And you are going to draft a quarterback. I mean, there's no way around it. Geno Smith isn't the answer, but he's a guy that may end up. He'll probably here's the way I think. I think here's what's going to happen. He's going to start next year, and then the rookie's going to take over, whoever it may be. But yeah, you're right, man. Welcome to Divine Comedy. We need more Seahawks fans in here, so I'm really, really glad that you're here. Slasher says, Ed Still. Yes, the champagne bottles are corked. Hurts is my MVP right now. So yes. They do need to bring in a Sky Judge, but do it lifetime and a guy from New York or whatever. No one can challenge us. You know what? I actually like that idea is that New York and New York can interfere. The problem is I don't want a game stopped 3 to 4 times a game with questionable calls. And I think that there's going to be more of that going forward because New York does contact the NFL. They have the earpiece and there is communication between New York and the referee throughout the game. So, yeah, I like this. By the way, this, you can't do this now, but you could do it in 2023. I like this, but I don't like the idea of teams challenging calls extra instead of the 2 challenges that they already have. So, for the most part, I think the NFL does a fantastic job with their officiating. It's just that these calls really, really stand out. But I actually really like that, man. Divine Comedy, unfortunately for me, more popular. Sauce Gardner will get more votes, but I think it should be Wooden. God, you know what? Seriously, I looked at like ESPN had the top 10 rookies. Wooden was one of them. Sauce Gardner was one of them. Petrie, the safety for the Texans, is playing lights out. He's a guy that will get some consideration. God, I'm drawing a complete blank. There's a few others, but Woolen being a 5th round pick is playing amazing football right now. He's playing amazing football right now. And forget rookie of the year. You got a corner that you can build around for the next several years. And you've really struggled with corners. You brought in players that didn't play. This is just an amazing pickup. And you got a 5th round pick who looks like he's going to be a future Pro Bowler. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? It should. It should. Is it fair to compare him to Richard Sherman? No. But yeah, 5th-round corner who's playing lights out. Hey, that's a good feeling, isn't it? 2025 is supposed to be a supersonic jet that you can get to Europe in less than 4 hours, like the Concorde. And the NFL is trying to get expansion teams in Europe when that happens. There has been talk about trying to expand. So anyway, the next NFL expansion is going to be different. So I've heard this a long time ago, and this was actually before COVID, and then after COVID, it was put on back burners. I think when COVID is officially a thing of the past, I shouldn't have even have said that. I may get flagged by YouTube. You'll see expansion. So what the deal is, the NFL doesn't want to do 2 teams. They want to go 4. And what they want to do is they want 2 teams in Europe. They don't just want London. They want London and I believe Frankfurt. So that's the reason why they're playing the game in Germany. They want a team in Germany and they want a team in London, and then they want 2 NFL or 2 North American teams. And I say North American because Toronto's always been a candidate for an NFL team. And there's been talk about Mexico City. I don't think that if the NFL goes to 4, it's going to be 4 non-American cities, but I wouldn't be surprised if when the expansion does happen. And by the way, I think 2025, 2026 is when you'll see it. I think London and Frankfurt, and that's been the NFL plan. They really want to go international, and they want to put a team in both London and Frankfurt. They don't want 1 European team. They want 2. And then there's going to be 2 other teams. San Antonio has been in the mix because they have an NFL stadium. They are ready to roll. The other NFL city, I've heard Toronto, but as far as American city, I'm drawing a blank. There was one other city, and I don't think it was St. Louis, by the way. There was one other city, but bottom line, you have San Antonio is ready to go, and San Antonio can easily support an NFL team. All right. So you have San Antonio, you're going to have Toronto, you're going to have Frankfurt, and then there's going to be one other team. But when the NFL does expand, their plan is they don't want to go 2, they want to go 4. So, and they want 2 teams in Europe. They want London and Frankfurt. So that's kind of what's going to happen. But bottom line, COVID put everything on the back burner. So what's going to happen is when the NFL does expand next, you heard it here first, it's going to be a 4-team expansion, and London and Frankfurt are going to be 2 of the teams. Toronto's a possibility. San Antonio will be one of those teams. And so when the NFL does expand, you're going to see San Antonio, you're going to see London, you're going to see Frankfurt. That 4th city, I'm drawing a complete blank on, and it could very well be Mexico City. It could be Toronto. There's another city besides San Antonio that's ready to roll for an NFL team, and I'm just drawing a complete blank on who it is. It's not St. Louis, and it's not San Diego, and it's not Oakland. I can tell you that right now. So, Slasher, yeah, you're right. Starting to get some hype though. Fingers crossed. The NYC media doesn't use the megaphone to drown out all the. Yeah. But Woolen's fantastic. He was a guy that I really thought would go in the 2nd round. Him and the guy the Chiefs drafted in the 4th round. I'm drawing a complete blank on his name right now. Williams. These are small school corners that I really thought would go in the 2nd round, and the Chiefs ended up getting theirs late in the 4th. And then they also have a 7th round corner who's been playing lights out, but not a rookie of the year candidate. Woolen's playing lights out, and part of it is that Seattle just doesn't have a good team this year. That's kind of what the problem is that you're looking at a team in Seattle that's probably going to win 6-7 games this year. Which is better than a lot of people thought. The over-under was actually 4.5, and I wasn't sure they would get there, but I think Seattle would end up getting 6-7 wins, and it's really hard to get any player of the year candidate when you have a losing team. But is he the best corner that's a rookie? Yeah, why not? Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Woolen also benefits from Pete Carroll. Man may not be the best head coach anymore, but he's still an elite DB whisperer. He also developed DJ Reed from Park. Yeah, DJ Reed parlayed that into a big contract with New York. So, yeah. Don't want to be too talkative. LOL, but Sherman is literally mentoring Woolen just in background. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, but a fifth round corner who's playing lights out, that should sound familiar. And by the way, Woolen, for those of you who don't know, ran a 4.31 at the combine, and he was like 6'3", 6'4", 210. So I mean, he's a big, fast guy. Major upside. Only issue is he played at University of Texas San Antonio. That was the only problem. So yeah. Yeah, there's talk about Team Mexico City. I thought I mentioned that. Yeah. Mexico City, Toronto, Frankfurt, London, and San Antonio. Those are the team. Those are the cities. And I'm almost positive London and Frankfurt, because they don't want to put one team in Europe. They want to put two, and then they want two in North America. San Antonio is going to be one because they got stadium. And Texas is not about football, so that's definitely going to be there. Mexico City, Toronto, and there's one other American city that's not San Diego, Oakland, or St. Louis, and I'm drawing a complete blank. It's not, the only problem with Lincoln is it's no media. It's such a small market. I think they should, because Nebraska would love it. Nebraska, by the way, would be all for it. No, Nebraska would be all for it. So it's not a media market. And I wish I could remember the other city. I want to say it's Columbus, but it's not a media market either. I don't remember the name of the city. I might just be making stuff up. I don't know. Would be interesting to see more teams right now. 17 games a year with 16 teams at conferences. No, you're right. So anyway, so here's the plan. By 2025, it's going from 17 to 18. So it's going to 18 games in the next couple of years. It may be 2024. So 2024, 2025, it's going to be 18. It's going to be 18 games. And then what the NFL wanted to do pre-COVID was put two teams in London. And then they wanted two teams in North America. So the NFL is expanding from 17 to 18, from 32 to 36. And 36, it's going to be 36 teams when the NFL comes out. The only thing slowing this up is COVID. And again, that's a YouTube killer. I may get deplatformed or something for saying the C word, but the plan is to go from 17 to 18 games, because 17 games doesn't make any sense at all. It's going to be 18 games very soon. The problem was that the NFL Players Association actually shot down 18, but they agreed to 17. You had to take a preseason game away, but it's going from 17 to 18, and it's going to go from 32 to 36. And basically, when everything kind of settles down, you're going to see a 4-team expansion. And the NFL wants to go international. They've been wanting to do this for a while. If everything didn't happen, there would probably be a team in London and Frankfurt right now. I firmly believe that. And so, yeah, you're going to see the NFL grow. And hopefully this is a good growth. Hopefully it works out. So. Wouldn't want ran a – okay, no, he didn't. Unofficially, I think it was a 4.26. But if you go by the official NFL network, he ran a 4.31, and that was the fastest time at the combine. If I'm, you know what? Let's look it up here. NFL combine. But I mean, here's the thing: the dude's like 6'4". The dude's 6'4", 210. So let me see here. No, you know what? You're right. I'm wrong. Yeah, 4.26. All right, I was wrong. So it was Tarek Woolen, Zion McCallum, And the Chiefs corner who ran a 4.41, I thought. No, I'm sorry, he ran a 4.51. Who's the guy's name? Jalen Watson also ran. Joshua Williams, that's the guy. He ran a 4.53. No, you're right. I'm wrong. You go to NFL Network. I'm going to copy this. Woolen. And by the way, Woolen is a big dude. Like this is a big NFL corner. But yeah. And by the way, this is like his scout. Sorry about that. So this is a scouting report, but this is a guy that I really thought before this season, Divine Comedy would go in the second round. I was really high on him. I thought that, to be honest, I was really thinking he may be a safety. But just a Madden player in real life. I love that. Yeah, you proved me wrong. And by the way, if you're new to this channel, this is never going to be an echo chamber. I'm not always going to be right, but when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. I own up to it. And so, yeah, thanks for proving me wrong, because I was really high on this guy. I was also really high on the Chiefs pick of Joshua Williams in the 4th round. But Woolen's a guy that is going to be in is going to be a really, really good corner for years to come. I had no idea it was working with Richard Sherman, which is brilliant, just brilliant. Louisville, Kentucky, Portland, Oregon. It may have been Portland, San Antonio. Okay, San Antonio is being considered because they have a stadium. It's a 78,000 stadium. It's NFL ready. They are good to go. You could put an NFL team in San Antonio today and it would work. There was talk, I forget who it was, but there was talk, some big time investors, but San Antonio is ready to go for San Antonio is NFL ready right now. So that's the reason why San Antonio is going to get an NFL. San Antonio by the end of the decade is going to have an NFL team. I'm telling you this right now. So it's going to be London, Frankfurt, San Antonio. The only question is the other city. Is it Toronto? Is it Mexican City? Louisville is actually interesting, but I think Portland, Oregon, I'm drawing a complete blank on the other city. I want to say Portland was the city, but I'm drawing a complete blank. Put a team in the South for sure. Alabama or Mississippi would be great if they actually compete with college football there. That's the problem, is they can't. Now Carolina has actually done a fantastic job, but I don't know what part of the country you're located in, Divine Comedy. I'm going to assume since you're a Seahawks fan, you're in the Pacific Northwest. It's a different type of crazy down there. Like I've never seen fandom like you'll see in the South in regards to college football. It's something nuts. NFL, it's funny. I was talking. Okay, I'll go tell the story, but I don't think they really want to put. I really think that they don't want to compete with college football. I think the NFL wants to go global and keep college football and NFL kind of separate. I don't think that they want to do that. I could be wrong. To tell you the truth, I think it would be great. And I say that they don't want to compete with the college football, and there's 3 teams in Florida. I get that. I get the irony. Yes. However, I don't think that they want to put one in Mississippi or Alabama. I'm telling you right now, San Antonio will get an NFL team by the end of the decade, and London and Frankfurt are the 2 other teams that's going to be considered. So the big question really is who's that 4th city, and I know Toronto and Mexico City are candidates. Maybe Denver Gators, right, with Portland. There was one other NFL city that was really getting a lot of publicity, and I'm just drawing a complete blank on who it is. Give me an 18-game schedule, 20 weeks, where the first 3 games and the last 3 are all divisional rivals. So every team gets 1 bye in between weeks 4 and 8. Funk. That's exactly what I was thinking. if I could do it, and I had control, I would actually go backwards and I would switch to a 14 game schedule. And there's no way that's going to happen. And the reason why I would go 14 games is because you have so many injuries. But the NFL wants to get bigger. So, yeah, they're going to go to an 18 game schedule. And if they do, there should be 2 buys, not just one. And then you get 20 weeks. That's 5 months, right? Now, what they would have to do if they do that is they would have to shorten preseason from 3 to 2, which the players would go for. The NFL probably wouldn't, but the NFL is going to 18 games. It's just I think the plan is actually in 2025, and I think that what's going to happen is you're going to go to an 18 game schedule, and then the following year with all the. And I know that there's like in YouTube communities, if you say the C word, you can get in trouble. But my channel's so small it shouldn't bother me. But I want to keep my nose clean. I'm 5 away from 800 subscribers. I really want to get to 800 here in the next couple of weeks. But bottom line. Bottom line, the plan is to go global, and the NFL is going to go from 17 to 18 very soon. And I think after they go to 18, they're going to go from 32 to 36 teams. So, New York City proper should have a team in Brooklyn and force the Giants and the Jets to change their name to New Jersey. There's been so much talk about that, and for such a long time. I actually don't have an issue with that. They actually here's the deal. So there's like a giant facility that in New York where teams go to before they go to London, and there's talk that that might be it. So yeah, and that's why they're not going to put a team in Birmingham or I can't think of the biggest city in Mississippi, but no, that they're going to avoid that. But yeah, San Antonio is going to get an NFL team very soon. They have a very good stadium already built, already ready to go. University of Texas San Antonio plays there right now. That's ready to go. Like an NFL team could move in there tomorrow. And then they're going to put a team in London and Frankfurt. They don't want to put just one team in Europe. They want to put 2. The only question is who's at 4th city. And off the top of my head, I know Toronto and I know Mexico City are candidates. I could swear there's an NFL city it doesn't have a team. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's Portland. I'm just drawing a complete blank. But the NFL is going to go from 16 to 18 and then 32 to 36. So I kind of like 16 games, can keep adding games, but fact is dude gets hurt. The replacements are never as good. And there's a point on whether investment on return of addition versus dude, you're 100% correct. Divine Comedy. I'm glad you're here, man. Don't forget, man, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And I'm almost at 800 subscribers. It'd really mean a lot to me. By the way, I'm switching next week. If I know I've said it, but I'm going to regurgitate it next week Tuesday. Preseason, you do a 4-week preseason where every team has a week of practice, the joint practice in the game, and then repeat. A lot of NFL teams don't like the joint practice, believe it or not. I don't think that's it. I'm drawing a complete blank, but I've nailed. I mean, seriously, I said 4 cities, and I named off a bunch of them. Maybe it is Toronto, and I'm just drawing a blank. But San Antonio, London, and Frankfurt are all getting teams. It's just probably within the next 5 years, and then there's a 4th city. So I would love to see a team in Boise, Idaho. I would love to see it. I would love to see like a non-major market get a team like Lincoln or Boise. Albuquerque would be another one. I would love, maybe Albuquerque was the team. So If they expand the schedule, they have to increase the roster and practice squads, which would be a way which would be way better for jobs and players getting on roster. Use exit. Yeah, well, that's what they're doing, and players from the USFL have made NFL rosters, and you're going to be seeing more and more of that that come. And yeah, and like I said, I'm the only person in the world that would, if I was in charge of the NFL, I would go to 14, which they did for a long time. The NFL had 14 games for a long time, and the reason why is that you have less injuries. But the plan is to go from 16 to 18. I'm sorry, 17 to 18. And then, yeah, you have to, if you expand the schedule, you have to increase roster and practice squads. Remember, you can only be on the practice squad if you're like in the NFL for like 3 years now. It's a lot different. The NFL's made some really nice adjustments, and I like. And by the way, if you didn't get a chance, I was very impressed. The USFL was surprisingly good, and I think didn't they play all the games in Birmingham? Is that right? I could be wrong, but the USFL was pretty cool. I actually really liked it. I was really surprised. Denver, I agree. Yeah, I do too. And you're going to see that too. You're going to see more practice squad. Basically, the NFL is just getting bigger, and sometimes bigger is not always better. But I do like the fact that you're going to put 2 teams in Europe. At least that was the plan pre-pandemic. I think I can say that and not get flagged. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up here. It's been really hard to talk today. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. I will be on Tuesday next week. I'm also going to be here Friday. Don't forget, I'm going to be here Friday. I didn't even get a chance to go over Thursday Night Football. I actually am really looking forward to this game. I know it sounds a little crazy, but one of these teams is still going to be in the mix for the playoffs, and I think one of these teams is really going to be in a bad situation. And I think if Washington loses, then the Ron Rivera hot seat just really skyrockets. And especially because he's the GM and he has player control, and he's done such a bad job with that. I didn't, by the way, I don't know the exact comment, but I know he made a comment, and I think it's not that big of a deal. So Toronto is money printing for the NFL. Already have a successful league. Canadians can rally behind. Yeah, I'm almost thinking maybe instead of North America, maybe instead of America, maybe I meant North America, because Toronto's ready for an NFL team. There was talk about Buffalo moving to Toronto, and they ended up staying in Buffalo. But Toronto is definitely a candidate. So is Mexico City. Believe it or not, Mexico City is something that the NFL would love. They play a game this year in Mexico City. So Toronto, Mexico City are candidates, but the plan is to expand 2 teams. And I'm telling you right now, San Antonio, the NFL wants a team in San Antonio big time. It's just, Texas money. Texas is nuts for football. It would be very popular. And me personally, if I had my choice, I wouldn't mind a team in Toronto. I think that would be awesome. I've never been to Toronto, but I had a buddy of mine used to live in New York. He said they used to go over to Toronto like every weekend. It was just hop, skip, and a jump away. And I was like, that sounds kind of cool. It's actually on my bucket list to like do some Canada travels, like the Vancouver and Toronto. I've been wanting to check that out. So I haven't had a chance to do that. But yeah, I personally think Toronto would be a great fit. It wouldn't surprise me if Toronto was that other team, and I'm just thinking of, and I just got it stuck. I enjoyed the X formerly the NFL. Sadly, I don't think any of them make the NFL, and I hope none do. Well, I'll tell you what, I love the USFL. I was really surprised. It was really good this year. I tell you the truth, when football season ends, I'm looking forward to watching USFL. It's pretty damn good football. And On that note, I'm going to get out of here. Guys, thank you so much for joining. Don't forget, hit me the thumbs up. Share this, please. Share the video. I'm 5 away from 800. And like Denver Gator says, come back, leave a comment. It helps the algorithm if you drop a comment below. See everybody back Friday.